Welcome to the Balanced Ambition podcast. I'm your host, Matt Southam. Here, we delve into candid conversations with entrepreneurs, exploring both their business journey and their secrets to maintaining mental well-being. As we navigate the balance of ambition and inner peace, I hope you find insights, inspiration, and invaluable takeaways in every episode. Thank you for joining us. Hi, Rob. Welcome to the show today. Let's kick off just by learning a bit more about you. Tell me how you've got from where you started to where you are now.
Hey, Matt. Yeah, great to meet you and great to share a little bit of our story with you. So I went to school in 80s and 90s. It was at the dawn of the digital era, really, and I got quite interested in design. And eventually, the awareness of digital and websites and apps and all these things were just sort of in the emergent phases. And found a few friends that were working in that space already, just figuring it out. And it was great to sort of observe what they were doing and then start to take part in that. And that's, I would say there was a pivotal moment actually, though, where I went to an event at a local school, and it was run by one of the teachers there in computer science. They invited a local entrepreneur who actually had started a games production agency there, and I couldn't believe what they were doing, in terms of design, and that really sparked my interest and to go and learn a little bit more about how to create things online, and yeah. I guess that was 25 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that growing up in the 80s and 90s, I'm out of a similar era. And actually, we've seen some incredible change in technology. I remember being at school and, there was this thing about talking about the internet, and I remember, having things on CDs, CD-ROM. And, I was used to loading a game on a tape deck at home that took, 90 minutes. And suddenly there was stuff on a CD. And we saw all these changes, and actually, if I think about school to now, it's been massive. Do you feel that as well?
It's been enormous, hasn't it? Yeah, even in the last decade, what we've experienced, and what our kids will experience or have experienced as well in that change. And it was when we first started connecting with it there, I think there was a sense of, this is important. This is going to be huge. And then to be able to sort of self-publish a website or content for the first time, it sounds so mundane now, but I suppose like back in the day when media was so controlled, and you really had no way of publishing anything yourself, then to be able to publish a blog or a website for the first time felt pretty transformational.
Yeah, it really did. I mean, that certainly digital age, and those early, I guess, social media channels as well, sort of the MySpace and things like that. And, even early Facebook. I mean, I'm sure most of us will look back at some of our first Facebook posts and almost cringe, but it was something new to be able to put your message out there and write something online that other people could then see.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but at 15, I didn't have a lot to say.
No.
So that was the challenge.
Yeah.
I actually went into design from that point, so I was never a content creator or an originator, it was designing and creating solutions for others, really. And that was the angle that I felt quite naturally in, and ended up heading on to one of the first degrees that did that. So it was called Multimedia Technology and Design, which dates it like nothing else. But it was full of people that were sort of on that journey together as well. And I have a strong belief that actually most people probably don't need to go to university in this industry for this, but actually it was quite powerful in the relationships that they brought together for us, and those people that all saw something at either a creative or technical angle and wanted to sort of focus the energy and attention into that. And that's where I actually met some of our founders of the company as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so actually, there was an interesting point there you said about going to uni and if people need to, and actually one of the, I suppose, the challenges now for any academic course is that technology is almost changing quicker. So by the time a course has been published and you're on it, actually things have already moved. And while it's still, there will be some relevant parts, actually everything is moving so quick that actually learning online is possibly the better way.
Yeah, I think I think the relationships that they can bring together is very valuable for that, but also some people need that structured learning approach, which is again, very helpful. But I think that one of the biggest things it can do higher education is teach you how to think and how to learn and how to research, and build that capability. And I certainly needed that, honestly, but I do think there's a lot of people that don't necessarily need that in that same structured way.
Yeah. So talk me about how you then got into, what it is you do now. Talk me about your current business.
So I run Graphite Digital. We're a digital experience agency, and we specialize in health and pharma. So we are predominantly doing design and research of digital products and services for the health and pharma industry. The company's 15 years old. I didn't start it, actually. It was started by a couple of friends at university, but I went on a little path of design and account management, and then they spun out this company and eventually asked me to run this while they focused on another. And that was an amazing opportunity, and I was full of youthful naivety about what it would be to do such a thing and run a company. But here we are 15 years later, and still doing well. We've been on a bit of a journey. So as the industry has changed, so have we. Our first client was AstraZeneca, actually, and that was a long time ago, of course. But we also had lots of other different customers in different sectors for quite some time. And really just, we have been and continue to be very good at client service, just looking after our customers, always adding value, always going the extra mile. And that has meant that we have built long-term relationships that have stood sort of the test of time. And so on this journey, we've worked with myriad different companies, and not just in health and pharma. So for 7 years, we were Costa Coffee's digital agency. We did all of their digital. We worked for BP, and we've done a bit of work for Uniqlo and Disney and all those sorts of different brands. But what we observed perhaps 7-8 years ago was the change of the industry as it became more competitive. And so we decided to focus all of our energy into health and pharma specifically, believing that there's so much potential in that for helping people and making products and services that genuinely impact people's lives positively. And actually, as designers, we want to be solving problems. Some of the biggest problems that exist are in the healthcare sector. And if you can solve those problems, then it's very rewarding. And so, it was a bit of a pivot to jump in and say goodbye to some previous customers. But a natural one, actually, as the momentum was continuing for us in this area and our health and pharma work was picking up. So, that's some of the journey.
Yeah, I mean, that's incredible, really, some of the companies you've worked with. But I guess you commented on that sort of customer relationship and building that, and that is a real key part to business. I think everyone concentrates on the end product, but and while that's important, actually building relationships with your clients so that they trust you to deliver that end product is just as important.
It's more important, I'd say.
Yeah.
Actually, it's your customers who really help you see what the value is in your relationship, and you're effectively monetizing your value when you're selling your time or your services. And so really continuing to learn what value is to them and to continue to build those relationships is essential.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess, yeah, relationships is the key part. And I think, I mean, my background's in marketing and a lot of people concentrate on that sort of first time sale. But actually, where most companies grow is by continually serving existing customers. It's that repeat
Yeah.
value, the lifetime value of a customer. And that is actually just done through,
Yeah.
yes, you've got to deliver great work, but
Yeah.
also through relationships. Because at times, I guess things do occasionally go wrong. But if you've got a really strong relationship, actually you can work through it and deal with it. Whereas actually, if the relationship isn't there, one little slip up is probably enough that they're going to run off and go to a competitor. Is that sort of your mindset around it?
I think so. Yeah. And it does put a bit of pressure on it when you're not the one leading those relationships as well, when you're delegating that to a team and expecting them to continue to have that in front of mind and to look after that customer as well as you would. And I think, though, that we've got quite good at that, really. And yeah, I agree entirely, Matt. One of our customers we've had for 10 years. So we've been retained for 10 years by one of the largest pharma brands in the world. And I still can't quite believe that they choose to work with us. It's such a small company, But it's testament to what the team have done in building that relationship and continuing to deliver value for all of those customers that we work with in that brand.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is very much that building relationship. And I guess, yeah, you commented on you're not the one always in control of that and you pass it down to your team. And I guess that means building a culture so that people in your team actually represent you, represent the company, and are that client liaison. So, do you work on culture specifically, or is it an organic thing that just happens because you'll work nicely together? I mean, how have you managed that?
Yes, we make specific investments in terms of time and strategic focus on our culture. But I think I'm getting to a place where I believe culture is nearly always just a reflection of the leadership. Yeah, and there's so much you can do to enhance your culture, I suppose, or the people will try and sell you, like the perks and the different day trips or whatever you can do, that are seen as sort of culture in inverted commas, but in reality, I believe culture is the way that we interact, the way we work together every day, all day,
Yeah.
and that's what we put our energy into, and that's why hiring for culture add is important. We don't look for culture fit, we look for culture add. So somebody that will bring something slightly new, but will fit within our team.
Yeah, that's a really key point. I often say that, a lot of people think, oh, we just do a team day out, you know. Well, yeah, but that makes no difference if the rest of the time actually you're not being treated right. And there's a saying I heard and I often use is that, how you treat your team is how they will treat your customers. And I'm surprised when companies treat their team badly and then wonder why they get bad reviews online. And it's like, well, it just trickles down. And that is, yeah, it does come from leadership that actually there's nothing wrong with having, that hierarchical structure. And at time you've got to make tough decisions, but equally you're all meant to be working towards something together. And that's what keeps the culture going. And that's what everyone, I guess your customers and your clients see. Do you think that
Yeah,
works?
100%. Yeah, it's I think the culture is defined when leaders are praising certain things and admonishing other things, and if you are praising and recognizing the behaviors that align with you as a leader, which everyone does, then you'll get more of that, and it's just, that's how it works. If you're overlooking things, then those things can emerge and become a problem. And so you do need to sort of challenge those behaviors and things that are not right. But yeah, it's very much a reflection of the leader to a fault as well. Sometimes I observe things and think, oh, we shouldn't have done it that way, but to be honest, that's exactly how I would have done it. So it's or you've got a slight weakness in your in your organization surrounds some element of communication, but actually then you think through coaching or mentoring, you realize actually that's just a weakness in me as well. So actually need to develop that in myself and then develop the company in that.
Yeah, in that way. Have you done much sort of self-reflection on that? Because I do find as leaders, we step in thinking maybe, very naive at the start, think we know it all, think we can run this business. And actually you start to realize all of us have got some weaknesses. Do you self-reflect on that, or have you discovered some of that?
Possibly too much, Matt. I think. Yeah. No, I've been very fortunate. I've had a coach and mentor for 6 years, and that has been very helpful to continue to check those areas, but also reframe them as well and give myself a bit of a break on some of them. But I really believe in the value of coaching and mentoring to help reframe things and analyze things with a clear head.
Yeah, having someone to, like you say, reframe it, or just seeing it from a different perspective, because we're obviously too close to ourselves to be able to realize that. And it always amazes me in business that people don't work with other coaches or mentors, or even just have that close-knit group, because actually, I often compare business to sport, as in it's competitive. And in every sport I've ever known, you always have coaches. It doesn't matter if you're the world's best footballer or the best tennis player, you have a coach. So why wouldn't you in business? And a lot of that is just making those small adjustments. We've clearly, as entrepreneurs, that there is a skill set, I guess, embedded in lots of us to do certain things, but it doesn't mean it transfers across every area of leadership. And I think actually we probably maybe need to be kinder on ourselves, that we're not the best person for every single role, and getting people within your team to step up and deliver that, and you just have an oversight. I guess that leads into culture as well, doesn't it? Putting the best person onto the job, rather than thinking as the boss you're the best to deliver this.
I learned that a long time ago, I've got to say, and I think if anyone else that's listening hasn't learned that, they should try it sooner, because we try and hire. Well, I have always tried to hire people better than me, in their specific functions. And it's not hard to do that. Really, there's people who are fantastic out there. But my job is to hold them and bring them together.
Yeah, often, I mean, I've worked with some community groups before as a volunteer and things like that, and actually ended up sort of chairing and things like that. But what I sort of found my role was, it wasn't me that was in charge. It was just coordinating everyone to do their roles. And that was actually my role. I didn't actually do any of the work as such. Obviously I got stuck in, we're all volunteers, but equally other people were much better in their areas, and it was just tying it together. And actually that's a skill of that's sort of leadership, rather than being a manager. You're leading, you're guiding everyone, you're bringing everyone together. And I think that's a skill we all have to discover, don't we? So where have been some major learnings within your journey then? You said you sort of discovered these different things at different times. What can you think of any points when there was some major learning in your business?
Oh yes, quite a few really. I think one of the ones that was most challenging for me was when one of our key customers appeared to be insourcing some of our work. And logically, with in retrospect, it's like, well, of course customers are going to do that. At a certain point in time, they'll want to take control over certain areas of work, and that's not personal, But I took it personally because we had been delivering such great service for a long time. We built a team to support that brand, and there was a wind of change. And actually, it was the moment in which we called to question why we were doing this. What was our identity? In being so customer centric, we had almost built our brand in a way that was around their identity, not ours. And it was around their purpose and not ours. And so we had to sort of challenge our mindset about what was our vision? Where was the value that we'd be creating for multiple customers? And on our own terms. And in the middle of that, what was mine?
Yeah.
You know, and so to create a vision and a strategy that existed um, for ourselves and for me, you know, in the middle of it, that was going to sustain us continually was quite a pivotal moment. I didn't know how to do it at the time, but we got a little bit of advice and started to put together a structure. And ever since then, vision and purpose have been really quite important. And it's one of the ways that I coach and mentor others now in that space as well, and helping people express that for themselves, perhaps for the first time, is really valuable because it gives the direction for their energy, and that connecting that with purpose as well is very valuable for people, because otherwise we just end up working and sort of just seeing what happens, you know? But and a lot can happen that's great, you know, particularly if you work with great people and great teams. But I think people instinctively want to move in the same direction, or want to have a direction shared with them, and then you can put all your energy and your finance into that specific direction. And so it sounds super simple, but honestly, we lived for so long, for years, just on goodwill from customers, and we were very successful, and we thought that was how to do it. But when that success sort of slowed down, that was the moment that we had to sort of check ourselves, and that's changed the approach.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when you are working with companies, you, especially on that sort of, you know, creative side, digital side, marketing side, you almost, I guess you aim to become part of an outsourced in-house team as such,
yes.
Which sounds great for the customer because, you know, you really are embedded in everything they do. But you do then become part of their team and start to maybe lose your identity, which means if you lose them as a customer, how do you appeal to other customers? Because what do you stand for?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
when we had to really figure that out. And actually, I think that's a continued process. You have to continue to evaluate what you believe the future will hold, how you will offer services to meet the market in that space, not only today, but tomorrow, metaphorically, and finding that what your team want to sort of align to as well. And so we built a much more resilient company as a result of having gone through that, because we now know what we do and what we don't do, which is key, actually. To be able to say no to customers that are willing to pay you money is quite hard. And so, but if you protect your team really by offering services that you know that they're really good at, or, you know, perhaps push them on a little bit rather than doing something totally different every time, you can build a much more scalable, creative business rather than just taking on everything. And if you do that, you can only use your seniors to do the work, because the juniors haven't got a clue because they've never done it before and they're not brave enough to try.
No, that's a really key part. I mean, having worked in marketing for 10 years, I know that at times, you know, we've taken on jobs that probably weren't the right fit, but it's that real challenge, certainly in those first few years of like, oh, I need the cash flow, but also, you know, and it is a learning curve. And I think that's one of the things people starting a business need to understand, that actually, you know, you are always learning as you grow the business, and you occasionally you do some short-term things, and yes, you might need to just to survive, but your aim should always be to not have to do those and actually really concentrate on the key services you offer. And it's actually a superpower to say no. I'm trying it in my personal life a lot more as well, because I, you know, very much just say yes to everything, and, you know, and then put myself last almost. But actually saying no, that's been my aim this year, to say as no to as much as I say yes to. And it just gives you more space to actually deliver much better work on the yeses.
Absolutely. I think it's really hard for people that are particularly, and I count myself in this, but have people-pleasing tendencies.
Yeah.
You want to continue to add value or support people around you. And so the obvious answer is yes. But no is an important one to protect the things that are important.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, that's a really good way of putting it. Protecting those things that are important, because at times, something important will come along, and if you've got yourself caught up on something that wasn't important to either you or the business, if the job isn't a perfect fit and it's driving you forward, actually, it's potentially pushing you back, and it is a real challenge. And I think lots of it is probably going into business, without that knowledge, but also that, I guess, I don't know if it's naive or just confidence, that overconfidence in your own abilities to deliver everything when actually you can't.
Yeah, that carries you a long way, and until you get to about 20 people, maybe they'd be slightly fewer, when it's not about your confidence, it's about the confidence of the team and their capability. If you are confident and they are not, you're not going to deliver it. At that point it becomes about how to build that confidence in that team to deliver, and by narrowing the focus, that's one way. Equipping them with skills and capabilities and the right mindset is another one as well. But yeah, you'll not get too far just on your own confidence.
No, you do need other people in your team. And I think that's another key learning of, you commented on it, employing people who are better than you. And I think that's got to be a given. That should be your aim, to employ people who are better than you, because, we're, as leaders, we're often generalists. Well, might have a certain area, but we have a general understanding of a few other bits, but then get the right person in for the role.
Yeah. I think that's actually really hard in a creative agency space, because nearly always the leader has come from either a strategy or a design background, and they get their motivation from delivering upon those things really well. And so it can be a big barrier to growth when the leader wants to keep doing those things. I think strategy, you can probably do it a little bit, but actually we had a moment, I remember quite clearly, where I'd hired some really great designers, and they were definitely better than me. But there was a moment where I was like, oh, I can do it. And one of the senior ones said, please don't, two reasons. One, because they were better than me. But two, actually, it's disempowering for those people. If the boss comes and does something that they believe is their role, which it is, of course. And I think that's where quite a lot of creative agencies can come unstuck in that transition between sort of small to medium, and around that control. And the creatives and the leaders have to get their enjoyment out of new things, and it's not out of doing or delivering the work anymore.
Yeah, I think actually empowering your team to deliver the project is actually really key. And I reflect on, and I can think of a specific time that I almost, swept in with my superhero cape on, to just get the job over the line and finish it. But actually, was that the right thing to do? Because had I embedded that, actually just get it good enough and then Matt will come in and finish it? Well, no, that's not scalable. So yeah, there's certainly, I think we learn from our mistakes, and that's probably, I guess, a key part, that there will be mistakes along the journey, but it's taking something from them and not repeating them. That's the key, isn't it, in growing a business?
Yeah, I think we learn best from mistakes, don't we? And we actually, and this is another challenge for founders, particularly in an agency environment where client relationships are really key, is how do you now allow your team to make the learning mistakes without bailing them out every time? And without it costing you more money than you can afford, or your client relationship. Because if you continue to protect them from themselves every time, then then they won't really grow. So there is a balancing act of finding autonomy and trust and relationships around all of that.
Yeah, it is. I mean, balancing act is probably the key phrase in there, and it is a challenge, because you want the client to see this fantastic finished work, but like you say, if there hasn't been that mistake in there, will actually the person delivering it on the front end actually learn? And I think as leaders, one of our roles is also to help people progress in their career. I've always been very key on that you might be employed in a certain role, but I want to see you progress. I want to see you move up, and whether that's internally within the company or you've gone off to another company, that's fine. If we haven't got the capability in house to take you on that journey, but you want to move up the ladder and you need to go somewhere else, great, let's enable that for you. So how we do that for our team, and that comes back to culture as well, doesn't it? Actually wanting people to be able to leave, I guess, and then have the culture so that they don't.
You said it. I think it's that's exactly the right mindset. Somebody said to me a few years ago that everybody leaves. Even you will leave as the leader one day. For one reason or another. And so I think everyone's got a season in an organization, a time when they're most motivated and most effective, and then there's a moment where they become less effective or disillusioned for whatever reason. And you have to anticipate that and then allow that out for people. And it can be really hard. It can be really hard to sort of let go of people, particularly when they have been key to the organization. But the organization itself needs to be resilient enough to do that, and have ways of working where it's not dependent on individuals. And it's got to flourish. And actually, another point on that, I've been asked before, what perks should we offer our teams, and I think I'm more and more of the opinion that the biggest perk you can provide is career progression. And it's not, of course, it's not a perk. It's a cultural thing, but that is what the majority of motivated individuals want for themselves, and they will stick around if they're getting that.
I think that's a real key point, and I don't think there's anything wrong with Free Beer Friday or the team day out, but it cannot make up for bad culture at its core. Sure. You cannot have a tick box exercise and think everything's going to be okay. They're great to offer, day off on your birthday, all the different ones that we see regularly, but there's got to be that core culture, because without that, it just won't be enough.
Exactly. Yeah. I believe I've tried them all, and I think that is the key one. Some of them, surprise and delight, definitely add a little bit of pleasure to the work experience, but actually there's nothing like offering an environment where people can grow and feel like they can add value and continue to add value for as long as that season exists.
Yeah, completely agree. So just to move on today, what do you do in yourself? You're growing a business, you've got a team, you've got those responsibilities, you work with a mentor, but how do you keep yourself, motivated and sane, and not let some of those challenges really get you? I think, how do you look after your mental well-being?
I think this is one I've been learning from your guests and you on as well. I think this is certainly not something I've cracked. I think we all know what you need to do, but it's difficult to do it, right? So exercise, eating healthily, sleeping well. Those are the ingredients. And I struggle in various ways with some of those things. And certainly in the past have been through burnout, and it's not nice. It's very challenging. But I think as you progress, you can learn the signs for when you're entering into perhaps burnout territory, or you need to have more rest. Or for me, it's I need to be in different contexts. So I need to go to the gym, or I need to go and meet with people. I can't do it all from my home or from the office. And putting myself in different environments, I find very constructive in that process to make sure we're balancing things. I'm very fortunate as well to have a very happy marriage and family life, and many of my family live locally as well, extended family, so we have good community to rely on as well. So count myself very fortunate in that. But I don't think I've cracked it, and
Nice.
it comes down to the motivation to get out and go for the run, or to go to bed early. That you need to do these things, but I sometimes would rather take the short term hit of the extra show on Netflix,
Yeah.
or that last minute email,
Yeah,
So,
it is a real challenge, isn't it? And actually, it's something I've been, learning more about, and I suppose, firstly, understanding myself much better, but equally, I think for most things in life, nearly all of us know what you should do. So, if you
listen,
want to get healthier, you do more, or you increase your
right,
fitness, you go to the gym more, do more fitness. You should eat healthy. We know that. Getting sleep, drinking enough water. None of this is groundbreaking stuff. Everyone knows this. Taking regular breaks. Yeah, we know that's good for you. Going out for a walk, meeting up with friends. It's the doing it, which is the harder part. And I've been guilty of it, where, I'm on a real effort to get out and about more. We've gone from office space to home working,
really,
and actually that can be really productive. But I suddenly realize I'm a couple of days in and I haven't left the house. And recognizing that actually now I'm not being productive. But then there's that, you get caught up in that circle of, but I do have that work I've got to do. Do I go out for the walk, or to meet some friends, or whatever? I should just get that work done and then I'll meet them. But actually, no, you've got to do it early.
yes. I think the hybrid work approach can be very effective, and it certainly offered up people a lot of flexibility and ability to look after their obligations at home more
Yeah.
readily, more easily. But there was something to be said for a regular cadence in work, where you were going, you were traveling, and they had a structure around that travel probably, and you fit in the key things around that. And for me, without that structured cadence, there is you have to be really intentional about doing the healthy eating and the exercise, and build that structure for yourself. And of course, as a leader, you have probably more agency to do that than many, but still you have to do it.
Yeah.
And then if you do get called off to go traveling for some work event or whatever, you have to bring it back quite quickly after that. And I think that's where my focus is at the moment, to build that cadence.
Yeah, no, that's a really good one. I heard of someone doing, basically they still build in a commute even when they work from home. So they go out for a half-hour walk in the morning, half-hour walk at the end of the day, and that is a really good way, because I used to have about a 25-minute trip to the office, and it was a nice little bit of time. I could listen to some music in the car, or whatever it was. That bridge between work mode, home mode. Whereas I do find I get up from my desk and I'm straight into, two young girls wanting to play a game and things like this. And it's like, I need a little bit of time to decompress. So actually maybe building in that commute, even when you're working from home, is potentially a really good way.
I think it's a great idea, although when you're trying to be ruthlessly efficient, it doesn't
I
make
know.
sense,
I know. It's a challenge. I never pretend to have all these answers, and I create lots of content around a productivity mindset and things like this. And I'm always really clear to everyone that every message that I put out, I'm speaking to myself. That's that I'm reminding myself. Please don't think I'm preaching to everyone. These are all messages that I need to hear myself. and I'm sort of embedding it in. Because I don't have all the answers. I'm just trying to impact other people, but also impact myself by learning more about myself, learning more about productivity, learning more about our mindset. And I'm very aware, probably the hardest part of running a business, or the biggest challenge many of us focus, is purely within our heads. That's where the challenge lies. If we can get out of our head, actually, we're all really good at what we do. We just need to get out of our head and make it work.
I think you're doing us all a favor here by bringing these ideas up, actually, because some things will work for some and not others, right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it does come down to mindset and the way that you hold your work in your mindset. And so for us all to reflect on that and to try things and learn new things that work for us, it's very valuable.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Just to finish off today, then let's just have a final tip from Rob. What would you say someone needs to be aware of going maybe particularly into the digital or the agency space, or protect just generally in business? What do you think that one thing someone should be aware of before starting?
The stories on Instagram about instant success are not true. Certainly not from my perspective, and on LinkedIn as well. You only see the highlights. 99.9% of the grunt and the challenge is not shown. I wish actually as a culture we share a little bit more of that. It's uncomfortable, of course, but it would be more helpful than just showing all the success.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a quick win sort of way to making the creative agency system work, really. But the thing that you can trust is your instincts. And as soon as you can get to trust good people and build a good team, then appreciate that and make the most of that.
Yeah. Rob, thank you so much for your time today. I've really enjoyed our conversation and your insights. And obviously I wish you all the best in the continued growth of your business. So finally, Jeff, thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Balanced Ambition podcast. I genuinely hope the stories inspire you as much as they inspire me. If you found value in today's conversation, please share it with a friend. And remember, by subscribing, you won't miss an episode, and it would truly mean the world to me. Stay balanced, and I'll see you next time.